Hello and welcome back. Today we are looking at, in my personal opinion, one of the biggest injustices in the UK, and that is the case of Mick Philpott. The crime he went on to commit was one of the worst the UK had seen, and it was all for a plot to get more money. He's genuinely a vile human being. Michael Philpott, known as Mick, was born in 1956. He was known to the British public because he appeared on the Jeremy Callous show in a documentary conducted by Anne Widdecombe. Before his horrific crime, he had a criminal history. In July 1978, at the age of 21, while absent without leave from the army, he attempted to take the life of his girlfriend, Kim Hill, with whom he had a 2-year relationship, beginning when she was just 15 years old. Philpott had previously attacked Hill in the groin with a crossbow because he felt her dress had been too short. He physically attacked her on another occasion because she paid too much attention to a baby she had been minding and not him. Philpott attempted to take the life of Kim because she sent him a letter saying she was leaving him. He attacked her while she was lying in bed. He also attacked her mother when she came to her daughter's aid. Kim suffered collapsed lungs and a punctured bladder, kidney and liver, which she believed caused later health issues. Philpott was convicted of attempted murder of Kim, as well as grievous bodily harm with intent against her mother, and was sentenced to 7 years in prison in December 1978. Philpott was released after just 3 years and 2 months. Philpott married Pamela Lomax in 1986. He had 3 children with her, 2 sons and a daughter. Pamela said that Philpott was highly controlling and she prayed he would move on to someone else. He did. He met Heather Kehoe, who was just 14 years old. He was 37. On her 16th birthday, Heather ran away from her parents to live with Philpott. She gave birth to 2 children, both boys, very quickly. But Philpott wanted a daughter and attacked Heather for this reason. She described Philpott teaching his older sons to be aggressive with her. Philpott wanted Heather to produce more children, but she did not conceive again. When Heather tried to run away, Philpott threatened her with violence, that he would do it with her as he had done with Kim Hill. In 1991, Philpott was given a 2-year conditional discharge for assault, occasioning actual bodily harm for headbutting a person. In 2000, Philpott met Mary Duffy, who was 19 years old and a single mother, born in England to an Irish family. She had left a previous abusive relationship. She moved into Philpott's house shortly after. They eventually got married in May 2003. But just a year after meeting Mairead in 2001, Philpott met Lisa Willis, a 16-year-old orphan and single mother. Philpott invited Lisa to move into his council house, which was larger than hers, in 2002. After moving in, the pair started a relationship, and Philpott began to attack Lisa. He attacked her with a piece of wood after accusing her of lying over the father of her children. Lisa was actually a bridesmaid at the wedding of Mick and Mairead. She was considered his mistress, but lived in the same house as the married couple. On the 23rd of December 2002, having left Philpott, Heather finally gained legal custody of her 2 sons. Philpott marked this event each year by smashing the family's Christmas tree. He was so angry at his children being taken away, and this rage would continue. You would think that he was angry because he didn't get to see his children. No, he was angry that he didn't have the children so he could claim benefits. Mick had a philosophy of not working, and to afford his lifestyle, he wanted to have as many children as possible to get benefits. In 2006, he was in British newspapers as he wanted a bigger council house. He lived with his wife, who was then aged 25, his mistress Lisa, who was 22, and 4 children born to his wife and 3 to Lisa, as well as Lisa's child fathered prior to meeting him. The public were outraged that he was complaining about needing a bigger house, a house that the taxpayers pay for. At that point, he had a total of 15 children and hadn't contributed to one of them. In 2007, the press revealed that both Lisa, his mistress, and Marie, his wife, were expecting babies, both due in March 2007, making the total of children to 17. He appeared on the Jeremy Callous show defending his lifestyle and his need for a bigger council house. He said that he would have a vasectomy and would focus on just one woman and not engage with both. Later, the BBC did a documentary on his lifestyle called The Scheme, hosted by Anne Widdecombe. Philpott was shown to be living in a caravan in his garden, in which his wife and mistress would alternate in spending nights with him. Anne observed that the children didn't ask or want attention from him, and he was demeaning to both women. All the welfare coming into the house he had control of. The women didn't even know how much they received. By others in Derby, he was described as a sleaze, and his attitude towards women as very manipulative and controlling. He continued talking with the press and whoever he could, arrogantly boasting about his 2 wives, polygamy, and would talk of his and Marie's extracurricular activities. It was reported that she fell pregnant with another man as a result of one of these activities and had an abortion in 2010. He was given a police caution for slapping his wife and dragging her outside by her hair. Just a week before he committed the most evil crime, he was at a court hearing as he punched another driver in a road rage incident, for which he pleaded guilty to common assault but denied dangerous driving. At the hearing, Philpott was bailed and was awaiting trial. Philpott and his mistress, Lisa, became estranged in February 2012, and she left to live with her sister and brother-in-law, along with her 4 children by Philpott and her son by a different father. As before, Philpott was angry that she took the children, not only because he was controlling, but because they would lose a significant amount of money without those kids in his household. This sent Philpott in a rage, and he began to plot to try and get them back, alongside his wife and friend Paul Mosley. On the 11th of May 2012, the night of the crime, just an hour or so before, the 3 of them engaged in activities inside the house. They then set the house alight, with the idea that they would frame Lisa for the fire, win back custody of the children, and continue to claim benefits for them. The children were asleep upstairs, and at around 4 a.m. on 18 Victory Road, the house was engulfed in flames. Jade 10, John 9, Jack 7 and Jesse 6, as well as Jaden 5, lost their lives. Dwayne, who was 13 years old, passed away 3 days later in hospital. Neighbours rushed to the scene. 2 brothers tried to gain entry to the house to save the children on multiple occasions, while Mick Philpott didn't even attempt to. The neighbours told the police of his strange behaviour. The UK was shocked and devastated by the loss of life. The Philpotts did a press conference. Again, in these press conferences, the behaviour was really weird, wiping their eyes when there were no tears, and Mick Philpott seemingly enjoying the attention. Meanwhile, the local community really rallied. The local churches held memorials for the children. A charity, Catch Me When I Fall, was set up by local residents to help the family of the children. A book of condolence was at Derby Cathedral and was later signed by hundreds of people. A fund to pay for the funerals raised over £11,000 by members of the public living in the same area as the Philpotts. The investigation revealed that petrol was found inside the letterbox, and Lisa, who had a court hearing over custody of her children with Mick Philpott, scheduled on the morning of the fire, was initially arrested on suspicion along with her brother-in-law Ian Cousins, but both were released without charge. The police bugged the Philpotts' hotel room and gained evidence confirming the couple were responsible for the fire, including the involvement of friend Paul Mosley, whom they actually heard them engaging in activities with. Philpott and Marie were arrested on suspicion of murder on the 28th of May 2012 after seeking additional time for questioning. The couple were charged again on the 30th of May. A discarded petrol container and glove had been found near the house, and in November, forensic investigators discovered that the clothes of Mick Philpott and Paul Mosley had petrol on them. At trial, Mick Philpott said petrol was on his clothes because he had borrowed a lawnmower from a neighbour and hadn't washed or bathed in weeks. On the 5th of November, Paul Mosley was arrested and charged with murder. At trial, the prosecution said that the fire was started with Philpott as the prime organiser in a plan to frame his former lover, Lisa Willis, who had walked out with their 4 children 3 months earlier. The fire at the council house in Victory Road took place hours before Philpott was due to face Lisa in court for a custody hearing. The jury heard how Philpott had spread rumours after Lisa left that she wanted to firebomb the house, all part of his attempt to frame her for the fire. The plan was for Philpott to rescue his children and for Lisa to be prosecuted for arson. But it went horribly wrong when the blaze took hold too fast. The adults escaped the house, but the 6 children passed away as they slept. Assistant Chief Constable Steve Cotterill said, "After 30 years of doing what I do, I have never seen anybody having suffered that magnitude of loss deal with it in the manner in which he dealt with it. I would have expected him to be completely and utterly destroyed, and if push came to shove, not be able to present himself at the press conference. He entered the room in quite a juvenile manner, as though it was a bit like an excited child. Really inappropriate in my view. He was the father of 5 children, in essence 6 children, who passed away in his house. I didn't see it as anything to be excited about. If anything, he should be rather fearful of the experience and wary of it. I didn't see a great deal of emotion and upset. This was an evil, stupid, shameful act which has resulted in the death of 5 of his own children. Personally, I found it very upsetting. I've become extremely angry at the needless loss of life. 6 little kids there that have not got the chance to grow up. 5 vacant chairs on the Monday morning at their primary schools must have been horrendous, not only for the teaching staff but for all the other little kiddies there as well." It was told that Philpott abused the goodwill of the community in Derby, who raised more than $15,000 to pay for the funerals for all 6 children. Philpott demanded that any money left over should be given to his family in Argos vouchers. In pre-trial hearings, it was revealed that Philpott showed a callous disregard for the community fundraisers and even demanded that hundreds of teddy bears left outside the house should be auctioned off and the money given to him. He told one organiser, "Shut up and just get on with it." Lisa Willis took the stand and claimed that he beat her at least 5 to 10 times over disputes of the identity of her baby's father. 2 of Mick Philpott's former partners also took the stands to give evidence. One of them told the court that on one occasion he'd pinned her to the floor and put the fear of God in her. A neighbour, Adam Taylor, told the jury that in the days after the fire, Mick Philpott's behaviour was still the same. A witness, Louise, told the jury she heard Mick Philpott tell another man at the Royal Derby Hospital that it wasn't meant to end like this. The jury also heard audio of Mick Philpott and Maureen Philpott talking in their hotel room bedroom while watching ITV News. Mick Philpott saying to her, "You make sure you stick to your story." Mick Philpott said that he did not start the fire, and as he listened to the 999 call, he collapsed on the stand. He also claimed his wife and mistress were lovers. Maureen Philpott said she played no part in the fire either. Earlier in the trial, Mick Philpott testified that on the day Maureen had called him saying she'd had a phone call from someone threatening to torch the house. His wife told the jury that on the 6th of April last year, she received no phone call on her mobile. Maureen tells the jury that she was more of a slave than a wife to Mick Philpott and that she has no idea how petrol got on her leggings. Paul Mosley exercised his right to silence and refused to give evidence. The charges of murder were dropped and it was changed to manslaughter, as it was thought that they did not intend to take the lives of the children. On the 2nd of April 2013, after being given an option of a majority verdict, the jury finds Mick and Maureen Philpott, as well as Paul Mosley, each guilty of 6 charges of manslaughter. Mick Philpott was sentenced to life and will serve at least 15 years in prison before parole. Maureen Philpott sentenced to 17 years in prison and will have to serve at least half. Paul Mosley sentenced to 17 years in prison too. On the 29th of November, an appeal by Mareed against the length of her sentence was heard. The grounds of the appeal were mainly that Mareed was under the control of her husband and could not exercise a free choice in her conduct. The appeal was dismissed. These sentences caused a ruckus for the British public, and I agree. That's why this video is called An Injustice. Whether you intended to or not, they took the lives of 6 children and they received 15 to 17 years. And even just looking at Mick Philpott and his criminal history, all his sentences have been lenient. He attempted to take the life of his ex-girlfriend Kim and he served only 7 years in prison. He punched someone in a road rage incident. He punched another person. He got done for domestic violence. And even looking at how he groomed and targeted women, Kim and Mareed and Heather were vulnerable. They were young, they were either single mothers or they had just come from abusive relationships. And even the age difference, one being 14 and him being 37. And for him to receive this such little of sentence for callously just taking the lives of 6 children, even putting his children's lives in danger, even if the idea was that, I would go in and save them, and all for benefit money, all because Lisa escaped like Heather and got away from his controlling behaviour. It's just vile. You take the lives of 6 babies and you receive 15 to 17 years in prison. Philpott still remains in Wakefield prison serving his sentence, and in 2028 he will be able to appeal for parole, and the parole will decide if he poses a risk to the public or not. But with previous cases I have covered, it wouldn't surprise me if they decided to let him get parole. Also considering he did attempt to take the life of his ex-girlfriend and only served 7 years. Unless the press and the public really give a backlash to this, and that would be a reason why they will keep him behind bars. He's very manipulative, and I have seen reports that he's had very good behaviour behind bars, which always helps a person with the parole board, as well as the 2 other culprits already being free. Mareed Philpott was released on licence in November 2020 after serving half of her sentence, and Paul Mosley was released from prison in November 2023 after serving just over half his sentence. And both, obviously, are free. That concludes our video today. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time.